Thursday, October 13th, and this is a regular meeting of the Eugene Planning Commission. And so I want to welcome everybody. I feel like it's been a while since I've seen you all. Due to Governor Kate Brown's stay-at-home Save Lives executive order to combat the spread of COVID-19, this meeting is being held remotely using virtual meeting technology. I think we've all gotten pretty used to that by now. Our agenda tonight, we're going to start with some public comment periods. So what I will do is, if anybody is wishing to speak this evening, you can join us from your computer, laptop, or other device, and you can click on the blue hand icon. And if you're on a phone, you can press the *9. And just a couple before we get started with the public comment period, I just want a couple housekeeping items to remind everybody to avoid using the chat feature, and that we would all like to see your face. And if, well, as long as I am chairing the meeting, if you have, you want to be put in the queue, just go ahead and raise your hand and I can call you in order. So I'll start with the public comment period. And if there is anybody who'd like to speak, please let us know by indicating your wish to speak. I only show one attendee, so I don't see anything. Amy, I'm going to double check by asking you if you can let me know if there's anybody you're seeing on a phone or anything like that, just to be sure.
I don't have anybody except for the one attendee.
Okay. All right, so we'll move on to our second item on the agenda, which is the Planning Commission elections for chair and vice chair. And I think at this time, what I would do is just open it up for commissioners. If anybody would like to put themselves in the queue to either express their interest or make a nomination, or I have Commissioner Fragola in the queue. Go ahead, Lisa. Oh, you're muted.
Good start. So thank you, Commissioner Edwards, and thank you for chairing the Planning Commission for the last year. I've enjoyed being the vice chair and serving with you. And I also wanted to let the other commissioners know on the Planning Commission, I mean, I know it's not a requirement of the vice chair to become the chair, though it often happens. But I've decided that I do not want to seek the chair position this year. And I think that's just because there's really a lot going on for me professionally as an educator navigating comprehensive distance learning, and something that will probably change multiple times through the year. So I feel like I would not be able to give it the 100% that I like to give to things that I commit to. So I just wanted to let the Planning Commissioner know that I would love to, but I don't feel like I'm able to at this time. And I would also be honored to nominate Chris Ramey to be the next chair, if he would be so inclined.
Okay.
I second that.
I was going to say, is that an official motion then, Commissioner Fragola? It sounds like that was.
I wasn't clear exactly where we were at in the process, but if there's a second, then yeah.
Okay, so I have a motion and I have a second. Is there any discussion? Maybe if anybody would like to. Commissioner Ramey, do you have anything to say?
Well, it's such an honor, really. I feel like public service is something you sign up for as a citizen, and leadership roles within commissions is also something we should all step forward and do. It's just, again, my time has come a little sooner than I might have anticipated. I would love to have understudied for a year rather than jump right into it. But I am willing to do whatever is the will of the rest of the commissioners, and be honored to serve as your chair if that's what you all want to do.
Okay, So would anybody else like to chime in? And we're under discussion at this moment. I will say a couple things just directed to Commissioner Ramey. You know, I did serve as vice chair before I stepped into the chairmanship, and I will tell you that the staff is incredible, and they make you. It is so helpful to have them, and you know, a lot of the meetings that happen in preparation for our planning commission meetings. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes to just help us understand and to just really kind of help the chair to manage the process and kind of know where we're going. And so that I will just tell you that it is hopefully my words are giving you some peace of mind that it really is kind of a joint effort, and whoever we do elect as your vice chair will also generally participate in that process as well. So you are not going it alone. And of course, if you are elected, you have several of us who have served in the capacity as chair that you can always lean on. So I will just say that. So if there are no other commissioners who wish to speak, I would then go ahead and call for the vote. So all those in favor of electing Commissioner Chris Ramey as our next chair, go ahead and raise your hand. All right, keep them up so I can see everybody. And is there anybody opposed then? Or anyone abstaining? Okay, it looks like our new chair is Commissioner Chris Ramey by a unanimous vote.
I think he needed to vote though.
Oh,
I think he abstained.
Did you abstain? I apologize. I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, it was my intention was to abstain. It seems a little odd to vote.
Okay.
Right. I don't know.
All right. We will
Right.
note that for the record that Commissioner Ramey abstained. So I think that at this time, it's appropriate for me to hand over the gavel because you now are officially the chair. And so the next thing we will be doing is electing a vice chair. So Commissioner Ramey, I'm going to hand you the gavel. So go ahead.
Well, thank you. Thank you all. This is just yet another instance of sometimes you need to be careful of what you ask for. It comes true. And I'll let you interpret that however you'd like from my position or from yours. So it would be appropriate to entertain nominations for vice chair. Would anyone care to nominate someone at this time?
Ken, would you be interested in being vice chair?
Was that directed to me?
Yeah.
I was asking Ken.
Ken, yeah. No, Ken, please.
I would be interested. I got myself off mute there. I would be interested.
I'll nominate Ken then.
I'll second it.
All right. So I see Tiffany, your hand is up. Did you? We've moved ahead. We have a seconded and a nominated, and I believe an acceptance. Would you like to say?
I feel like Commissioner Borowski just beat me to it. That's okay. I was going to make the motion, so that's fine. I would be fully supportive of Commissioner Mason. So
well done. All right. So nominated, seconded. I believe we should all vote now. All those in favor, please raise your hands where we can see them. I think I have everyone except Ken.
I'll abstain.
Who will abstain.
Yeah.
So therefore, we are following a very brief tradition.
Yeah.
Now, unanimous -1 who abstains. So congratulations, Ken. So happy to have you join me in a leadership role. Probably not, you didn't see this coming either, so we share that now.
Thank you.
Mind if I just jump in really quick, Commissioner Ramey, and I want to say thank you to Commissioner Edwards and Freyla for their leadership over the past year, particularly during the pandemic where it was all kind of crazy for everybody. And I appreciate your, stepping up and just diving right in straight to Zoom. And so I want to thank you for that. before we move on to the next agenda item, there's one thing. So I figured that Borowski would have beat me to this, or City Attorney Summers, but you actually have to designate a secretary as well, which is typically the planning director. But I noticed that's in your bylaws and in chapter 2 of the Eugene Code. You can do it really informally, but I figured we might as well, keep it on the clean and go ahead and do that. So just wanted to put that out there.
Kristen, your hand is up. Go ahead.
So 2 things. I'm going to start by, first of all, saying thank you, Commissioner Edwards and Commissioner Fragola. I echo what Alyssa said. This has actually been quite a complicated transition, and I think both of you did it, made the transition really smooth. You actually bring a lot of personality to your Zoom presence, which I think we haven't had a lot of public, but I think it helps because it's, we want to encourage public participation. So I think you both have done a really exceptional job. So thank you. It's not an easy transition. And then I'm going to quickly move into, I like to actually make a motion that the planning director, Alyssa Hanson, be the secretary.
I'll second.
Okay, moved by Taylor, seconded by Edwards, I believe. Did you get that? No, who was that?
It was me, Lisa.
Sorry, Fragola, thank you.
I have a quick question before that. So again, this is just the persnickety part. Do we have to put it, are you planning director or are you AIC still?
I am AIC still. Sorry for that.
So should we reflect that in the motion?
You can, sure.
Sure, we can. Thank you, Commissioner Borowski, for keeping us on the great line here. Appreciate it.
Ramey, can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
What if we didn't use the title and just designated Alyssa Hanson as the Secretary of the Planning Commission in the event that she's appointed as permanent planning director? That way there's no confusion about the position.
I see lots of head nods, and honestly, I thought that's where we were tracking anyway. So now are very much online, and I think it's appropriate to call for the question at this point. A vote by show of hands. All those in favor, raise your hand, please. And now we have a true consensus and unanimity on that vote. So thank you, acting in charge, for being our secretary. All right, I don't have any script in front of me, so at this point, I know we're moving on to, I believe we're moving on to item C, which is subcommittee assignments. All of us have received that document as an attachment to these minutes or this agenda. And Alyssa, do you want to walk us through what we have in front of us?
Sure, this is a good spot for staff to help you out because you don't have the script. So I sent you a copy of the draft assignments, and these were based on the preferences that you all filled out the sheets or emailed me information on what you were most interested in and what you'd be willing to do. And then we tried to balance those with what the available positions were, and this is what we came up with. And as you know, there's also one additional one, the one related to the transportation demand management. So that's one that we'll also need to settle tonight. And then I wanted to point out on this list that the River Road Santa Clara neighborhood plan could also use another kind of project resource. So if there was someone who maybe didn't put their name in for that one, but was interested, that would be another place to plug in. So I think at this time, if there are people who are like, oh no, I don't actually want to do that position, or hey, can I be an alternate or trade that one out? Or if everybody's good with it, that's awesome too.
Okay, comments or thoughts? I know I think we all got a copy of Commissioner Edward volunteering to serve on the what I'll call the TDM coordination. And I will say on a personal note, I have a lot of experience with TDM stuff. So Commissioner Edwards, if you don't want to do, I can see some staff giggling. If you don't want to do that, I can be an alternate, I can step in, but you sound like you're eager to do it, so.
All right, can you call on me?
Yes, I will.
Sorry, I meant to raise hand and I unmuted myself instead. I am happy to do it. I you know, just obviously you all know that in my professional capacity, I'm working in transportation these days. So I thought that it would be something that would be appropriate and that I would be kind of in my wheelhouse and I could be helpful. But I'm certainly not looking to take the opportunity away from anyone. So I would say, Commissioner Ramey, if you want to take it, I can be your alternate or vice versa, whatever you would prefer. Knowing that you now have the responsibility as the chair as well, though, I'm happy to kind of just have that extra meeting to go to. So,
sure.
Yeah.
No, I think with your kind counsel, I will remain in the background and let you go ahead.
Right. Happy to do it.
Ramey, would you be okay being an alternate, or just?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, and then the what was the one? Oh, the Santa Clara River Road comprehensive planning. Would anyone like to step up on that really interesting project to follow from a distance? Some good work being done. I see Commissioner Isaacson's hand is up.
And we have Commissioner Isaacson listed for that, and we have Edwards as an alternate. And we were hoping to get one more commissioner, if possible, to participate in that. And Terry, I don't know if you want to speak to if we know quite what the obligations would be for that or the expectations.
Sure. Well, it's been variable over time, I would say, because at every major milestone in the planning process, we come to the full commission. So it hasn't been a lot of additional work on the 2 or at times 3 project resources. But we are just about to turn the corner into the adoption phase. And so I think it would be valuable to have 2 that we could meet with and strategize with ahead of the main commission meetings.
So Terry, could you remind us what the time was again on this? How many meetings? And
Sure. They are as needed, but I wouldn't anticipate more than probably once a quarter. So 4 meetings a year over the next year.
Okay. Commissioner Taylor.
Thank you. I would be willing to participate. I'd be willing to sit on that.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Edwards, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, I just had a question because Terry, you had mentioned it'd be helpful to have 2. We have Commissioner Isaacson and myself as an alternate. My challenge had been with the schedule. Those meetings just seem to fall under either ETAC or some of the other meetings. And so I think that was the reason why we needed kind of like a second alternate. Again, I'm happy to participate when it's not a scheduling conflict, but it seemed that was so frequent that's why Commissioner Fragla had to step in and really kind of take the lead on that. So I'm happy to participate at any meetings that I can, but it seemed to be in conflict. So I just wanted to make mention.
Well, one thing we could do is move you to kind of full project resource and list Kristen as an alternate. Would that work? We're not expecting the planning commissioner resources to attend the community advisory committee meetings. So if that was the conflict, you don't have to worry about that. This is a smaller time commitment.
I think, well, Commissioner Isaacson was interested, and I think that if he would like to step up and be the main point person, that I'd be very comfortable with that. And if we can work to schedule around any other conflicts, I think I'd be comfortable maintaining my alternate status. So, and if and Commissioner Taylor wants to jump in on that as well, I think.
You know, let me make a suggestion is Commissioner Edwards, what we can do is I can be a main, but you and I can coordinate, or vice versa. I can get busy also. So in terms of other meeting conflicts, and it's not frequent, but if it shows up, you and I've done this before, you and I can just make sure that we're present. And so as long as one of us is the lead, so it doesn't matter who, I'll just know that you're there as an alternate, and we can coordinate that. But I'm willing to be that main person if it's a conflict for you.
And the intent with most of these is to have at least 2 people, you know, as the main. And if there's a lot of interest, then we can have an alternate. So I like so we've got Isaacs in there. We can put Taylor as the second main and keep Edwards as the alternate. And then, and there's nothing precludes all 3 of you from attending, because that's not a quorum either. Just that way we know we've got enough people there. If that works for the 2 of you, 3 of you.
So I see Commissioner Borowski, you've been patiently waiting with your hand, your raise here. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. And I was just going to speak to the whole subcommittee process. As you can see, I'm only on a couple right now, and that's deliberative because I'm going to be probably phasing off the Planning Commission come next June. And so I didn't want to get into any long range planning things and then have to pass that off to somebody else. But just my experience moving forward to the newer members of the commission, I think that any chance that you get to get involved in any of these subcommittees is very advantageous to the learning process. I know early on when I was on this, you look down at that tally number, and I think I was at 4 or 5 at one point, but that really brought my learning curve along on a lot of different aspects of the commission's duties. So, you know, if you're hesitating because you think, oh, well, I've got 2 or I've got 3, if you've got the time and can do it, it's a really a valuable resource, and it's also very helpful to the staff and to the community.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for those good words. So are we clear on the area study?
So here's what I wrote down for River Road, Santa Clara. Isaacson and Taylor would be the main, with Edwards as the alternate. And it sounds like those 2 may have the more conflicting schedules, so that they would work together to make sure that everybody's able to attend. And there's nothing wrong if all 3 of them attend.
Okay. So any other thoughts or comments? I see Commissioner Fragala's hand is up. Yes.
So I just wanted to remind myself that if these meetings do happen, is there something we need to do to get tagged for receiving specific updates, or will you get us connected and to whoever we need to do to get updates and meeting information?
Yeah, so definitely for the planning projects, we'll pass these on to the project managers. So you're currently the Human Rights Commission liaison. Do they send you the packet now?
Yeah, I already get all their information. Yeah.
Okay. I don't think any of those were. And Commissioner Beeson, you were already on the Housing Policy Board, correct? And Commissioner Ramey, you were already on the Sustainability Commission. Okay. So
I am.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And anybody being added to one of the project resources, when there is a meeting, you will be reached by the project manager. So there's nothing you need to do for any of those.
Okay, terrific. Commissioner Edwards, yes.
Just to follow up with that, Alyssa, because my old email address with my old work was where I got most of those. I don't get those now. So I just want to make sure that the things that I am an alternate for, I'm getting through my Planning Commission email, because I'm like Housing Policy Board, I don't get on that. So I just want to make that plug.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you for that. That's good to know.
Okay. Yes, Terry Harding.
Thank you. Just a quick heads up on the middle housing project resources. So this is a new project, as you all know, and I've got 4 commissioners, 3 plus an alternate, that I'm going to be emailing tomorrow because the opportunities to help out are coming up really quickly. So just so you know to expect that email, we have a boards and commissions roundtable where one of you plus an alternate will be invited to attend. And that's kind of a twice over the course of the next year opportunity. And then there are 2 seats on the steering committee for the healthy democracy process. And that is about 12 hours of commitment over the next 6 months or so. And so I'll put that in the email, but I just wanted you to know that'll be coming your way pretty quickly.
Okay, good. Yes, Commissioner Taylor.
Thank you. I just wanted to follow up with what Commissioner Edwards said in terms of updating. I am super responsive with my work email. I do have a separate Planning Commission email, but for subcommittees, especially Terry, that needs quick response, if you can copy my work email, that's great. So know that project managers, there's a key. If you copy my work email, I will be super responsive. Whereas my Planning Commission email, I wait till the end of the day. So just so you know, you can use that. I then will push things to and manage it through my Planning Commission email, but it's a way of getting a hold of me. So definitely you can do that.
Okay. Are we ready to move on? Does staff have what they need for this agenda item?
Yes, absolutely. I will update this and send it back out to you later this week. So thank you all.
Great. Yes, thanks to everybody. I thought the process was quite good. This is the 3rd time I've been through it. This seems like a really big improvement. I really appreciate the way it played out. It's very helpful. Thank you. Item D. This is a deliberation and action, time extension for Laurel Ridge PUD. Is this a Dan Halverson item?
It is, thank you, Chair and Commissioners. Tonight, staff's bringing back the Laurel Ridge project for a procedural issue related to that time extension. A little background on the project, and most of the details are in your packet if you've read them. The applicant originally submitted this application in July of 2018. The property, if you don't know it, is located south Hills, Eugene, just north of 30th Avenue and east of Spring Boulevard. The original application, known as Laurel Ridge PUD, was for 122 single family lots. Excuse me. In November 2019, after the initial public hearing process, the Eugene hearing official issued a decision denying the application. 2 separate appeals were made, and those were to go to the Planning Commission. As part of their appeal, the applicant invoked their right to ORS 197.522, a state statute that allowed the applicant to amend the application and or propose conditions of approval that would bring the application into compliance. The statute also gave the city the authority to extend the time on the final action on the application beyond the limitations mandated by ORS 227.178, or more commonly known as the 120-day rule. The Planning Commission held a meeting on December 30th, 2019 to work out the unique statute that we had never seen before this time. They looked at 4 procedural issues at that time. That night and the subsequent deliberation night on January 6th, the Commission reviewed those 4. I'll give you a brief outline of those 4. The first one was, could the applicant evoke ORS 197.522? The second one was about the time frame that would be under review and getting the application back to a decision maker. This is the issue tonight we're primarily discussing. The third issue was who that decision maker would be. The Planning Commission agreed with staff in remanding the application back to the hearing official. The final issue that night was what to do with the 2 appeals that were filed. Planning Commission agreed, and the 2 appeals were put on hold. And if the hearing's official decision is appealed, the new one, the 2 parties should be afforded the opportunity to amend their appeal statements and to raise any new issues. Given the likelihood of this and the substance of the application and the hearing's official decision on remand, it could be likely different. So that was going to be open for that. So I just want to say here, since February, March of this year, as evident by our virtual meeting tonight, with the unforeseen pandemic and wildfires, this has made business as usual difficult. Things have changed and we are all dealing with a new way to work and communicate now. The applicant, since the beginning of the year, was working diligently to try to get all his materials together and to staff by June 30th. When, of course, COVID and wildfires happened, the applicant did get a great bulk of the material to us by the June 30th review, but and we started reviewing that application immediately. Their intention was to get the rest of the required materials and follow-up reports and things to staff as soon as possible, and staff to get the project to the decision makers. During the year, the applicant kept us appraised of their understandable, difficult issues in remote working, issues of getting people out into the field, even getting materials and reports to staff. As this was occurring, staff was keeping an eye on the timing of issues, and right about mid-August to September, it was just getting to the point where it was going to end up going past that December 30th timeline. So staff had conversations with the applicant and they're now asking the Planning Commission to consider the extension of time. Under the statute ORS 197522 subsection 3B, the city has the authority and flexibility to decide whether to further extend the timeline for processing and final action on the amended application. Staff is supportive of the time extension request, recognizing the extenuating circumstances that have taken place and that it would not be feasible to fully process the application with additional hearings and final actions needed to keep the timeline previously set by the Planning Commission. Based on these circumstances, staff recommends an amendment to the previous final order that would extend the time for processing and final action until June 30th, 2021. As a note to the Commission, staff has been working through some of the final issues with the applicant, and barring any more unforeseen world events this year, we're hoping to get this back sooner than that, but we are still working with them closely. For all the reasons discussed above, staff recommends the Planning Commission adopt the proposed amendment to the Commission's January 6, 2020 final order, thereby extending the timeline as discussed. I can answer any questions if you have them.
Okay, thank you very much. I see Commissioner Taylor in the queue. Go ahead.
So I am going to suggest a motion of approving the draft final order of the Eugene Planning Commission on procedural issues related to the hearing's official decision on the Laurel Ridge tentative PUD application that was included in our packet today.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Taylor, seconded by Commissioner Edwards. I see Commissioner Borowski in the line. Yes.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. The first question being, I went back and I watched the deliberations that we had back last year. One of the things that was brought up at that meeting was the appeals. There were two appeals, one from the applicant and one from the Laurel Hill Valley citizens. At that meeting, it was alluded to that Laurel Hill Valley would probably ask for their money back and rescind their appeal. Did they do that?
I don't remember them sending us a letter to get their money back. I thought their appeal is still on. They were holding that spot basically, but I can double check that and get back to you.
So, with that being said, was the Laurel Hill Valley made aware of this action? Were they noticed that this was happening? Seeing how that they are in my view, a participant in this whole action, it would have been nice to know that they were noticed and if they had any comments on it. The second question I had, well, I'll let you answer that first.
Yeah, everybody that was on the IP list the first time was renoticed. Yes.
Okay. And then the second question was, it was my understanding that the applicant had until June 30th to submit their application. And then the city had until January 1st to deem it complete and decide on it. So what you represented was that they submitted their application by June 30th, but now they're asking for an extension because of extenuating circumstances such as the fire and things like that, which happened way after June 30th. Can you explain to me the process here a little bit more?
Yeah, they got a bulk of the material to us. The PUD, the things that they didn't get were more of the studies, the TIA, the standards review, where they had to go out and do, biologists have to go out in the field and look at what the biology is in the site. So I'm sure during COVID, that was probably the most difficult, was getting people out into the field. I didn't get into the weeds exactly how what studies were not found or done at what time. They continued at June 30th to tell us that they were going to get them back in as quickly as possible. We thought it would be sooner than later, and they continued to have troubles, I think, after June 30th. But it just got to the point where we're just not going to make, with appeals and other situations, we weren't going to hit that December 30th. So that's why we had to ask for this extension. Does that help?
So the extension is, yeah, the extension then is because the city wasn't able to get their work done. The applicant had a completed application in, except for a couple of technical things that you gave them permission to be past the timeline that this planning commission set.
It wasn't a complete, there was no complete application. They got the PUD in, they still needed studies like a TIA, standards reviews. So we couldn't move forward at June 30th. So we still had to review those, thinking they were coming in quicker. They did not. So we didn't have a complete package at June 30th, no.
So would that make that an appealable issue? Because we set a timeline and they didn't meet that timeline.
I would ask Lauren to ask about an appealable issue, but I don't think it's with the ORS 522, we get to set that kind of timeline. Should we have come back exactly at June 30th and asked for more time? I don't know if we could have done that or should have done that. We knew by August, middle August, that we weren't going to make December 30th.
So Commissioner Borowski, I'm looking at the final order that the Planning Commission adopted at the end of last year, beginning of this year. And what it says is that not later than 5 p.m. on June 30th, 2020, the applicant must prepare and submit to the city any proposed amendments and or proposed conditions of approval that would make the tentative PUD application consistent with the city's comprehensive plan and land use regulations. And then the city will issue a final local decision on the amended application on or before December 30th, 2020. It's my understanding, and Dan, you can tell me if I got this wrong, that the on or before June 30th at 5 p.m., the applicant did submit amendments to the application that they believe makes the application comply with our land use regulations and comprehensive plan provisions. They're following June 30th, the applicant continued to submit supporting information related to that application. So the order itself says the amendments are due on June 30th. I believe the amendments were submitted on June 30th, but we didn't anticipate the time it would take for some of that supporting information to come in and be reviewed.
Thank you, Lauren. I would agree with that completely. And knowing without getting into details, the project did change. So additional supporting information had to come in and be changed. The TIA is one of those. The TIA that they submitted the first time had to change completely. So that's what we were waiting for that to come back in. Standard reviews, the change, so we had to get that back in, which means looking at all new biology because they changed where some of those things are happening. I think that helps, I hope.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, that does. I wanted to make sure, kind of like what Lauren said, that they got their amendments in and it was just supporting documents to that because there was that timeline and I didn't want to have it stand up.
Oh, did he freeze?
So Commissioner Borowski, you said you had 2 questions and now you're frozen. So I'm going to move ahead to Commissioner Taylor. We'll come back to you in a minute, I hope.
Commissioner Rainey, I think Commissioner Beeson.
Oh, sorry. Yes, of course. And Commissioner Beeson.
Yeah, thank you. I'm ready to support the motion. When I read through the material, I'm kind of on this same subject, maybe that Commissioner Borowski was on. I found myself wanting to be sure that the 6-month extension was going to give them enough time. I think there's really quite a bit of uncertainty. I'm listening kind of to the discussion and the different parts and pieces that are there. And the impression I got as I went through the material is that there is some supporting material that still hasn't been provided. I'm not sure how, I'm assuming that's pertinent to the final application and the review of that and the approval. And given the uncertainty with the pandemic, and I'm thinking back to the discussion we had a month ago on extending the expiration dates of approved applications and so on, I guess I just would like to hear from Dan a little bit that, are you guys pretty confident that 6 months is enough? I wouldn't be looking to extend it a lot more, but I guess, are you confident that the applicant is going to be able to get the necessary material in time to allow the city to do the review? Thanks.
I can answer that as yes. They've given us their complete, I guess, promise to get everything in. And ultimately, I mean, I thought we were going to make the December 30th. So they were thinking, what do you need, a month or 2? And we said, no, let's just do 6 in case I don't know what else could happen this year. So it should be enough to get it forward. Okay. We're getting really close, actually. So.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Commissioner Borowski, did you get all your questions? You're good? Okay. Commissioner Taylor. Anything?
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Beeson actually clarified a couple of my points. I also wanted to bring up the past recommendation that we made to City Council, just in terms of that acknowledgement of the difficulties that we're facing in kind of unknown circumstances because of COVID. And when you bring up transportation analysis, and like Dan Halverson said, some of that field work, that has presented very large challenges. Thank you. And I just wanted to, I had a couple of questions with Commissioner Borowski, just in terms of making sure, because we have passed that June deadline, you were clear in the AIS. It was nice to hear that your summary, Dan, so I appreciate that. So I feel, I mean, obviously I had a motion, but I had some additional questions, so I feel really clear. So thank you.
Good. Other commissioners care to speak? Of course, we have a seconded motion on the table. We're in discussion right now. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, nobody's hands are raised. I believe it's appropriate now to move to a vote, and we're voting on amending. I don't have the text in front of me here, but it's an amendment to a previous action. Oh, thank you, Kristen. The Planning Commission. All those in favor of this amendment, raise your hands. Okay, I believe that's unanimous, so no point in asking for those opposed or those abstaining. So with that, thank you for your work, Dan Halverson. I think we've done our part. And I'm looking to Alyssa now. Where do we go now? We're out of initials here on our agenda.
We are. I noticed that there's not, there wasn't one added here for items from Planning Commission and staff, so we can insert that because we have a smidge of time, although we won't keep you long. I just wanted to note that your next meeting is Tuesday night. It's a hearing on the long-awaited clear and objective land use code amendments. The agenda just went out. Give yourself plenty of time to read it and go through it. I'm going to apologize in advance to Commissioners Ramey and Beeson because you're not listed as the chair and vice chair because it went out right before this meeting. But Janessa Dragovich, the project manager, will be in contact with you two for a briefing prior to the hearing, which is typical what we do. And we'll make sure you have a script for that one also, Commissioner Ramey.
Okay, a lot of scripts.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, and then the next meeting after that is the 26th of August or October. Ooh, I don't know what month it is here.
Monday.
Which is a Monday, and that includes right now what you've seen is that it will be urban renewal, staff from community development, or will be coming to you for some feedback, and then we're going to move the growth monitoring item also to that date. So right now that's on the November 2nd. So we're going to move that item also to be on October 26th. So we'll send you an updated agenda, but just wanted to keep you in the loop on what your next meetings are. And I think that's the only, I know what I wanted to tell you. In the last couple of weeks, council initiated a new land use code amendment because we needed more to do, absolutely. And this one is related to building setbacks on commercial properties. And so this was something that Councilor Zelenka ultimately brought up. It's been a little while and we were returning with some options and they passed a motion to require that commercial buildings have a setback. Right now, they can be anywhere between 0 and 10 to 15 feet. I can't remember the entire code off the top of my head, but the code gives them gives flexibility right now. And what the council has asked for is a code amendment that would that would require a specific setback, and that having a 0 setback would actually be the exception. So that will be coming to you sometime next year. Just wanted to put that on your radar. And then also council will be providing us direction on urban reserves next week during their Wednesday work session.
Okay, great. Thank you for that update. Commissioner Taylor, I see your hands up. Yes.
Alyssa, I'm sorry, and I can listen to that city council meeting. Is one of the responses or reasons for the setbacks some of the larger buildings close to bigger corridors? And some of that.
I mean, there were a couple of very specific examples that were brought up in the work session, so I don't mind bringing them up here. But the face of Capstone, the building on Olive there, where it fronts 13th was brought up. There was also Applebee's out on West 11th that's really close to the right of way, and then a motel or hotel off of Franklin, and then something out on Coburg. I think a Walgreens out on Coburg. So those were the ones that were brought up. But yeah, I would encourage you to watch the work session. I'll go ahead and send you all a link so you can see what transpired.
Okay, great, thanks. Commissioner Borowski.
Thank you. Hopefully you'll hear this. My internet is unstable right now, but also, Alyssa, just to give a heads up of what happened last night at council, a couple of things that came before us passed.
Thank you.
The sign code passed, and the zoning for the Shepherd Motors, which we put forward, both passed.
And the airport master plan as well. Sorry, there's been so many things this week. I think I lost track of them all. So yes, thank you for that reminder. And just in terms of digital signs, they did approve the whole proposal. So to allow for digital signs to replace existing billboards.
And they went with the 8-second dwell time.
8-second dwell time. Yep. Okay. So Commissioner Beeson, go ahead.
Thanks. I would like to suggest that we, assuming other commissioners support this, that we schedule and have that planning commission process and review meeting, for lack of a better term. I'm remembering about a year ago in October, we had, it was a 2-hour session and we did a couple of things in there. It was a little more informal. I found it really helpful. And it was an opportunity to, as I recall, to review the work plan. We also all had an opportunity to kind of weigh in on the agenda in advance. And there were a number of things we had a chance to talk about. And it was a pretty good opportunity, again, from my perspective, for us to talk with each other and also talk with the staff. So I guess, assuming others might support that, I'd like to suggest that we go ahead and schedule that. I'd also, I guess, don't want to make it too complicated, but Commissioner Borofsky has several times brought up the question around some of the responsibilities we have in the code, and one of them being the one to work with developers on increasing affordable housing. And he's brought that up a couple of times. I know Commissioner Taylor particularly has responded. They've been kind of brief discussions, but he brought it up again here, I don't know, a month or so, 2 months ago. And I find myself thinking that it might be good. That might be something we could do during that meeting, where we could take a little bit of time and a little more formally as a group talk about that list of responsibilities, and maybe particularly the one, give John a chance to talk a little more about that, and I guess go through it a little more thoroughly, and I'll just kind of see where we are in terms of that list of the 8 or 9 things that the code says we're supposed to be doing. So I'm kind of, I guess I'd call that a proposal, but I'm kind of throwing that out to see if people are interested. Thanks.
Well, speaking for myself, I found that if it's the same meeting I'm thinking about, was very helpful. I think I was a big proponent of that kind of thing, at least an annual sort of where are we going, what do we want to do, all the time we commit. That seemed like a good way to kind of step back for a moment. I'm not sure about quorum issues and that kind of thing, but having it sort of more informal, working with the staff to set the agenda, sort of broadly soliciting items for the agenda, and then seeing what we can do going from there. I think that's an excellent idea, and I would be in favor of that. Other commissioners' thoughts on this?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Ken. You know, as I said in the past few meetings when this was brought up, I would really look forward to that type of an opportunity for us to maybe do some work and forward some ideas to the city council on ways to help do that. That would be something that I would hope I could help shepherd through in my last 8 months on the commission, have some sort of a small legacy. That I think that would be great.
Commissioner Taylor.
Thank you. So I just want to check in with staff, and obviously there's, and I know, I think I have been that person, that commissioner that's actually presented this perspective, is that just kind of stepping back, understanding what staff's workload is. So it's really a question back to staff. Timing's important, because if we have that discussion, granted, we can have a discussion, but it does require staff time. And if there's any kind of response needed, they have to work it into their plan, as well as potentially figure out if it's a priority from city council. So I think I would just put it back to staff. I think it's a great idea. I love it. It's our kind of planning commission retreat. So I think having it is not the question. It's really timing. So I guess I would just put it to staff.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, I think having the annual retreat is a really beneficial, or whatever we call it, is a really beneficial meeting to have. We count it as a public meeting, so it's not a forum or a quorum issue. We just don't tend to televise it. The issue with timing that comes to my mind is that my interim role is through December. And so I feel like we should hold off until the planning director position is solidified. I'm hopeful we will know that by the end of the year. And so what I would like to propose is that perhaps we kick off the new year with a retreat, and we should have the work plan pulled together by then. We should know what's going to be on it. It's going to be a lot of what's already on it right now, but we should be able to know our capacity. We'll also have more budget information by then, because we're in somewhat of a recession, and that can have an impact on the amount of staff we have as well, which has an impact on the number of projects that we can work on. So I fully support having that meeting, and it's been on my mind. I'm just thinking, but I think timing wise, I would propose that we kick it to January.
Okay. Commissioner Fragola.
Thank you. I actually would be supportive of waiting until the beginning of the year. Also, I have to admit that one of the things that I enjoyed about our retreat was the opportunity to have some time together that was a little less formal than our meetings tend to be. And maybe I'm completely zoomed out. Maybe I've got quarantine fever, but part of me really hopes that by January, we might actually get to see each other outside of a little 1-inch by 2-inch box. So I think it's probably wishful thinking on my part, looking at the data and the trends, but I would be supportive of waiting.
Okay, other commissioners, I see Lauren Summers' hand is up. Yes, Lauren.
Thank you, Jeremy. One other thing that I wanted to mention is if the commission is interested in waiting until January, we will probably have more information to bring you about proposed legislation for the next session as well. And I have a strong suspicion that there will be some bills related to affordable housing and how cities can facilitate that, especially through land use planning. So we might be able to give you some more information about how we think those things will go, how they could work into our work plan, how you might be able to participate as a planning commission.
And similarly, in our community development, which is where most of the other half of the housing work is done, probably the more, the funding of projects and the community development block grant work and the other HUD work, they're in transition in their leadership as well. And I don't think they would be ready immediately to be able to join us at a meeting. And so just another reason, I'm not trying to put it off. I'm just thinking if we want to have a beneficial meeting, that we've got all the right people there who know all the right stuff, that I would recommend January as well.
Okay, terrific. So Commissioner Beeson, I think you're up.
Yeah, just brief. I'd definitely be supportive of holding off until January. I think it sounds like people agree it's a good idea to have it. It would be good to have the work plan clearly and some of the other things that have been mentioned. And I too hope we could meet in person. So we'll see. Thanks.
Does anybody have a big barn?
Commissioner Borofsky.
Yeah, I think it would be best to do it in January. The other consideration that we have to put out there is that there is going to be a new council come January. So that plays into the mix as well. You know, council priorities may switch January 3rd when the new commissioners take their oaths of office. So that is another thing to throw into the pot.
Okay. Commissioner Taylor.
Yeah, actually, Alyssa, you brought up a really good point. I think when the timing is right in that first quarter is maybe we do look at some of maybe the city-owned property. Is there an opportunity for some kind of setting where we can social distance? Anyways, to look at some of the venues potentially as options for us to be able to at least have a little bit more coordination, collaboration.
Okay, good. Any last chance comments by commissioners? I think we have the beginnings of an idea for some kind of gathering during the first quarter for lots of good reasons. I heard pretty good support for that, and I see John Borofsky would like to speak. Yes, Commissioner Borofsky.
Yeah, I would just like to thank, again, I didn't get to weigh in, but Tiffany and Lisa, thank you for the job you did last year, and the growth that both of you I've seen as far as leading this commission. Chris, I have the ultimate respect for you, and I'm sure that you and Ken are going to be able to shepherd the commission on to great things in the future. So I just wanted to say that before the close of the meeting.
Thank you. Commissioner Isaacson.
I'll be brief because I'm actually getting over a cold, so every 5 seconds I cough. I also wanted to thank the outgoing chair and vice chair. Being new, it is a rather daunting task to get onboarded very quickly, and it's been nice to have a counterpart who I knew and someone who I didn't have a good relationship or no a relationship with to reach out and ask questions as sometimes as dumb as they were when you get started. So that's been nice. I know that with the new incoming chair and vice chair that it'll continue on. So thank you very much.
All right. Well, I'd just like to add my my voice to that chorus to the outgoing leadership. Thank you both very much. I believe we are in the same class. The three of us came in at the same time. So it's quite an imprint we're leaving on the commission here. And I hope to be able to carry on with all the grace and skill that the two of you have shown in the last 12 months. So thanks a lot for that. And I think we can say goodnight, right? I hear so with that, I'm going to call the meeting to a close. Thank you all, and we'll see you on Monday, a week from now.
Tuesday.
Sorry, Tuesday. Week from now.